As the Byzantine Empire collapsed and the control of the Mongol Ilkhanate receded from Anatolia, the House of Osman emerged as the strongest of the Turkic beyliks and over time evolved into the Ottoman Empire. In 1490, during the reign of Bayezid II, the eighth ruler of the House of Osman, near the city of Kayseri in central Anatolia, Sinan was born to Abdul Manan, a stonemason and carpenter of Greek origin. Sinan worked with his father and learnt his trade until the age of 21, at which point he was recruited by the Devshirme.
The Ottomans had a practice called the Devshirme system. This is where they forcibly recruited, effectively enslaved young Christian boys, training them as soldiers, administrators, judges, whatever their particular strengths were. These young men did not have any family ties within the Ottoman system and therefore were extremely loyal to the Sultan. This allowed the Sultan to not be dependent on the Turkish aristocracy because this force of young men would be willing to do absolutely anything for the Sultan. The system was also extremely meritocratic, meaning the absolute best rose to the top. Family ties, political bindings, etc. had no influence on those promotions. These men rose to the highest levels of government, including all the way up to Grand Vizier. In fact, during Sulayman's time, almost all the Grand Viziers were from the Devshirme system. Later on, people wanted their sons to be recruited into the system because it was an opportunity for rising to the top.
Sinan showed aptitude for engineering, so in addition to military training, he also received training as an apprentice carpenter. After Sulayman came to power in 1520, the Ottoman army turned westward and moved deep into Habsburg territory. Sinan accompanied the army in the campaigns in Belgrade, Rhodes, Mohacs, and the failed siege of Vienna in 1529. During these campaigns, Sinan got to hone his building skills by constructing siege works, caravanserais, bridges, and aqueducts. During the campaign of the two Iraqs, Lutfi Pasha's army was camped on the west shore of Lake Van. The Pasha wanted to observe Safavid movements on the eastern shore and tasked Sinan with building ships. Sinan and his men, despite unfavorable conditions and limited supplies, quickly built 3 galleys. This pleased the Pasha, who was not only a senior general but also brother-in-law to Sultan Sulayman. Sinan came into the limelight in 1538 during the Moldavian campaign, when Sulayman commanded that a bridge be built over River Prut so that he and his army could cross. The first attempt produced a bridge built on marshy ground which promptly sank and disappeared. Lutfi Pasha once again tapped Sinan and proposed that he make the next attempt. Sinan constructed the bridge in just 10 days, allowing the army to move forward. Sinan notes an interesting incident in his autobiography. Lutfi Pasha suggested that a tower be built next to the bridge so that the enemy doesn't destroy the bridge after the army moves on. Ayaz Pasha, the Grand Vizier, asked Sinan for his opinion. Sinan suggested that leaving a tower here with a few men was not advisable, since in case it was captured by the enemy, they would claim that they had captured a fortress. The tower was not built, and Lutfi Pasha was not happy about Sinan disagreeing with his suggestion. This left Sinan concerned that he had displeased a senior general, but Lutfi Pasha was not so petty. The next year, the chief architect Ajami Ali passed away. Coincidentally, the above-mentioned Ayaz Pasha also died. With Ajami Ali gone, an architect was needed to build the Grand Vizier's tomb. Lutfi Pasha proposed Sinan for this task. Sinan expresses some distress and concern about leaving his career as a Janissary, but he recognized the great opportunity and accepted the position of chief architect. Meanwhile, Lutfi Pasha replaced Ayaz Pasha as Grand Vizier. The first structure attributed to Sinan is the Haseki Hurrem Sultan Kulyesi, which was built on the order of Sulayman's favorite consort and wife, Hurrem Sultan. The structure was completed in 1539 while Sinan was chief architect, but it was probably designed and built by his predecessor, Ajami Ali.
One other interesting aspect of this particular complex is that it was built in a neighborhood called Avrat. It was built in a neighborhood called Avrat Bazar, which means the market of women, i.e., this is where women, slaves were bought and sold. Perhaps this is where she was first bought by the Ottoman Empire, and it was an acknowledgement and reminder of where she came from. Ottoman mosques were built under the umbrella of a religious and charitable foundation called the Kursum. This allowed the mosque and the surrounding buildings to be self-sustaining and independent. The mosque was never alone. It was frequently accompanied by a fairly large complex of schools, libraries, bathhouses, community centers, which provided energy to the community. If built alongside a road or a small town, it allowed the community to flourish. Services were often offered for free.
Ostensibly, the facilities in Hurrem's complex were to improve the lives of the women in the area. The leftover money from its construction was used to free slaves. It was the untimely death of Prince Mehmed which earned Sinan his first royal commission. Hurrem and Sulayman were grief-stricken at the prince's death, and the Sultan decided to commemorate the death with a mosque, Shehzade Jami, or the Prince's Mosque. The complex includes a mosque, 2 schools, a public kitchen, a caravanserai, and numerous tombs, including the tomb of Prince Mehmed, of course. The structure exhibits the style which would become Sinan's signature. It takes inspiration from the Hagia Sophia, with a large central dome surrounded by half-domes. Although the mosque is beautiful and impressive inside and out, Sinan rated his work here as that of an apprentice architect. Sinan does not devote any space in his autobiography to his personal life, but there is a myth that he was in love with the second most powerful woman in the empire, the Sultan's daughter Mihrimah. Unfortunately for him, Mihrimah's hand was given in marriage to Rustem Pasha, maybe because Rustem was considered worthy of being promoted to Grand Vizier, or maybe because Sinan was over 50 years old and already married. The Mihrimah Sultan Mosque in Üsküdar is the first of 2 mosques Sinan built for his beloved princess. Mihrimah is a Persian word that means the sun and the moon. Perhaps that is why the second mosque he built for her was near Edirne Kapı in Istanbul. The location for this mosque was picked so that at sunset on March 21st, Mihrimah's birthday, the sun disappears exactly at the Edirne Kapı mosque's location as the moon rises in the same line from behind her mosque in Üsküdar. This mosque was built in 1570 and displays a more evolved architectural style, exhibiting glimpses of the Gothic manner of architecture which eventually made its way westward, further into Europe. The large number of windows demonstrate how Ottoman builders had mastered the art of channeling light and brightening up interiors. Most of the structures Sinan built were commissioned by royalty or by dignitaries in the Ottoman ruling class. Mihrimah's husband, Rustem Pasha, a favorite of Hurrem Sultan, also commissioned numerous structures. It is curious that this mosque in Takiyya is simple and plain, but was built when Rustem Pasha was likely at the height of his power. The Rustem Pasha Mosque in Eminönü, on the other hand, was commissioned at the end of his second term and completed after his death. The insides of this mosque are beautifully done, befitting the stature of the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman court. The size, complexity and budget available for the structures reflects the stature of those who commissioned the building. This simpler mosque, for example, was commissioned by the chief white eunuch, Hanim Ibrahim Pasha, who is known for, among other things, executing Shehzade Mustafa's sons in Bursa after a bout of fratricide in the Ottoman royal family. Sulayman's reign lasted 46 years. This was the era when the Ottoman Empire was at its peak. The Sulaymaniyya Mosque and complex was commissioned by Sulayman to reflect the empire's power and grandeur. Sulayman and Sinan collaborated on the design of the mosque, including choosing its location. The mosque is placed on a hill such that it is visible from numerous Istanbul neighborhoods, including Üsküdar, Beşiktaş, Tophane, Galata, Qasim Pasha and Ok Meydanı. And most importantly, it was visible from the Bosphorus and the Golden Horn, so that all those setting sail from or arriving in the city could take in the awesome majesty of the Ottoman Empire. Patience was not Sulayman's strong suit, and he was susceptible to rumors. Various courtiers went to him and claimed that supervisors and clerks had built their own houses with the materials allocated for the mosque, and that Sinan, perplexed by the dome, was descending into madness. Sulayman was told that Sinan wanders the mosque listlessly all day, waving a smoky oil lamp. These well-wishers were concerned that he would not be able to finish the mosque. Sulayman was furious and demanded that Sinan give him a deadline for completion. Sinan asked for just 2 months. Sulayman felt that Sinan was being optimistic and reminded Sinan how Atiq Sinan, the palace architect who built the Fatih Mosque, had been executed by Mehmed II when he built the dome too low. Sinan hired as many laborers and artisans as he could and delivered the mosque on time, saving his neck and pleasing the Sultan. To honor the architect, Sulayman asked Sinan to open the gates when the mosque was inaugurated. The 4 columns were spolia. 2 were brought from older buildings in Istanbul, while the other 2 were brought from Baalbek in Lebanon and Alexandria in Egypt. The columns represent Chihar Yar-e-Guzin, the 4 rightly guided caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and Ali. The mosque has 138 windows, which brighten the interior on sunny days. The 4 minarets on the mosque and the 10 balconies on the minarets represent Sulayman being the 10th Ottoman Sultan and the 4th since the conquest of Istanbul. On darker days and evenings, the mosque was lit by candles and oil lamps, the smoke from which would typically stain the walls and ceiling. Sinan designed the airflow such that all the smoke deposited as soot in a single passage. The soot was then collected and used to create ink. The candles and oil lamps were also a magnet for insects. Mimar Sinan placed ostrich eggs in the chandeliers, which kept the bugs from congregating around the lights. Behind the mosque, you can find Sulayman's mausoleum, next to whom is his daughter Mihrimah. Hurrem Sultan is buried in a nearby structure. While there were other structures that Sinan felt were more beautiful and better architected and engineered, he identified most with this project. He built his own modest mausoleum in the southeast corner of the complex, and his house was also close to the mosque. This is a huge complex with numerous services, including schools, libraries, hospitals, and soup kitchens. After the construction of Hagia Sophia, Justinian I boasted, "Solomon, I have surpassed thee." With this beautiful building, Sulayman and Sinan have surpassed them both. One of the most significant and monumental projects Sinan worked on was the Kırkçeşme water system. Istanbul was a growing city, and in order to continue growing, it needed more fresh water. The story goes that Sulayman was riding in the Kağıthane area when he saw water spouting out of a broken down ancient water channel. Upon returning to his palace, he made inquiries and his historians spoke of an old water system which brought water from the Belgrade forest. Sulayman tasked Mimar Sinan with determining if using the Belgrade forest as a water source was still feasible. Sinan explored the hills and valleys, following the old Roman water channels, seeking out the sources of streams and taking measurements with his tools. Eventually, he reported back that a water system was indeed feasible. There was a fair bit of skepticism about the project. Some, for political reasons, did not want Sinan to succeed. Others, like Rustem Pasha, the Grand Vizier, for example, were concerned that administration of the city would become exceedingly difficult if the population grew any further. Sinan and Sulayman prevailed, And after 10 years, in 1564, the Kirk-Cheshme water system started supplying water to the city. This system has 55 kilometers of channels and 33 aqueducts which collect water from branches of the Kaathane stream. The total cost of this water system came to 50 million akçe, which is comparable to the 54 million it cost to build the recently completed Sulaymaniyya Mosque. This was a huge investment in the city's infrastructure, and Sinan considered this one of his greatest achievements. Depending on the season, the channel carried 12 to 17,000 cubic meters of water per day. The system entered the city at Eri Kapı and supplied the Basilica cistern, Zayret Mosque, and a network of 300 public fountains. The architecture and engineering employed in the building of the system, and especially its aqueducts, showcases Sinan's skill as a builder. In some ways, these aqueducts are considered architectural masterpieces surpassing the great mosques and other buildings he built. Sokullu Mehmed Pasha, a Devshirme recruit of Serb origin, was appointed Grand Vizier near the end of Suleiman's reign. Sokullu remained Grand Vizier for more than 14 years, during which time he went on to serve Suleiman's son and grandson. He was an extremely capable administrator and oversaw a number of critical expeditions, including the expedition to Sumatra. Sinan and Sokullu partnered to construct some of the most beautiful Ottoman mosques. It was Sokullu Mehmed Pasha who in 1566 kept Suleiman's death secret for 43 days while on campaign in Hungary, until his only surviving son Selim could arrive and take charge of the army. Suleiman's body was brought back to Istanbul over the newly built Kanuni Sultan Süleyman Bridge. People traveling between Istanbul and Edirne had to get on boats to cross Büyükçekmece Lake, which was a huge inconvenience. The marshy lake had ruins of an older bridge, so Sultan Süleyman asked Sinan to rebuild it. Sinan opted to build this magnificent bridge on the firm, shallow seabed rather than the marshy lake. The bridge was built using the Roman method, where the bridge foundation is made using watertight wooden boxes.
Sinan spent a lifetime trying to outdo the Hagia Sophia, and with the jewel in the crown that is the Selimiye Mosque of Edirne, he finally managed to achieve that objective.
Selim II had served as governor in Edirne and loved the city. Perhaps that is why he asked Sinan to construct this mosque in Edirne in 1568. Sinan considered this mosque to be his best work. The 8 pillars holding up the single great dome are closely integrated with the outer walls, maximizing the interior space and light. Its 31.28 meter dome matches that of the Hagia Sophia. Its 4 minarets are 70 meters tall. As with a number of other Sinan mosques, acoustic performance was taken into account and oral experience was optimized. The placement of the Muezzin Mahfili or Muezzin's platform in the center of the prayer hall, while unusual, aligns with the acoustics and gives the interior more symmetry. It reminds me of the central placement of the Kaaba in the Mataf. The mosque was built in Edirne, which was on the road to Europe. Sinan wanted the world to see and be in awe of the capabilities of Ottoman architects and builders. The Sulaymaniyya Mosque definitely served that purpose. In his autobiography, Sinan lists more than 300 buildings which he built as chief architect. This list includes over half a dozen different types of structures spread across the empire. Inspired by the Hagia Sophia, he created architectural masterpieces which stretched the limits of the era's engineering and created structures which were simultaneously beautiful, intimidating, and peaceful. In the mountain of work that he created, he demonstrated a mastery of architecture and engineering, and also a strong aesthetic sense, all while creating a new, unique, and iconic style all his own. Sinan is responsible for defining the architectural identity of the Ottoman Empire, and in doing so he created some of the most memorable buildings of the world and inspired many, many more.